Welcome to another edition of the Insider Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. It's our Final Four edition, actually pre-Final Four edition. We're still, actually I think I'm in Lubbock. Yes, I'm in Lubbock. Been traveling a lot in Lubbock before we go to Minneapolis. Joe, I guess just what are your first thoughts about the idea that we're going to Minneapolis to cover Texas Tech in the Final Four?
It's just bizarre, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I was not sure that I would ever live to see this day. I mean, the most hardcore college basketball fans never get to see their team go to the Final Four.
Right.
I mean, it's usually you got a handful of big-time schools that kind of go and repeat and circulate through, and every now and then you'll see a team break through. But most people just I don't want to get morbid about it or anything, but they live and die without ever seeing something like this. So we're very, very fortunate and very blessed, and I'm just I'm ready to get it on. I really am.
So what's been your favorite part of the tournament so far? I mean, 4 games, 4 pretty impressive performances, obviously, but what really has stood out to you?
Oh man, that's a tough question. What hasn't stood out for me? It's just.
What's the first thing that popped
the first thing that popped into my head, honestly, is the performance against Buffalo.
Yeah.
And that may surprise people a little bit, but I mean, I was genuinely worried about that game. Maybe too much worry, too much. Maybe I overestimated them a little bit, but I was very concerned about that game, and I certainly did not expect Tech to just come out and establish complete dominance right from the get-go. I mean, early in that game, for the first, 12, 13 minutes, you can't play college basketball any better than Texas Tech was playing. And they had that little lull there and let them come back, and they actually took that brief lead.
And then Mooney.
Yes, took matters into his own hands. Tech had a 9-point or 8-9-point lead at halftime, and it was all over. I mean, Tech just ran away with it again from that point. But that one really, really stood out for me because that was the one that I was worried about.
Yeah, that was. I was kind of shocked. Like Norris led the charge of them dominating on the boards. For me, Joe, to answer that question is how versatile this team's been. I think people try and plug certain teams into what they think fits. Just kind of categorize people. It's in our nature to categorize people and say this is who that is, that's who that is. And that's not always the case. This team is full of very good players. It's a versatile team. Yes, as Chris Beard would say, a non-negotiables, they're going to play defense. But look, the first game against Northern Kentucky, they identified we got to take out their big guy, or the McDonald dude, I think his name is. He's a double-double guy, 2010 basically guy. It's like we got to take him out. He had 5 points and 6 rebounds. Took him out, they won. Buffalo, for all the offense and talk about up-tempo, they were one of the better rebounding teams in the tournament, and I was really nervous that Tech was going to get crushed on the boards. I'll be damned if Tech doesn't dominate them on the boards, led by Norris's career game, 14 points, 15 rebounds. Michigan and Tech, 2 of the top 2 defenses in the country. But is Tech really, is it for real? Are there statistics for real? I think Michigan probably has the better defense. No. Tech says, boom, we hold you to 44 points. How do you like our defense? And then against Gonzaga, Tech can't run with them. Gonzaga's too skilled. Going into it, though, it's like if Tech could keep it close, they're the more battle-hardened team. And when I talked to the players afterwards, that's exactly what they said, is they felt like if they could keep it close, that they were the more battle-hardened team, and they were. And down the stretch, they weren't the ones reaching over across the end line, getting a technical, kind of losing it. It was Gonzaga, who hadn't played a close game since December. So what have I been impressed with is Tech identifying what they need to do against very different teams that they've played so far, and then executing flawlessly. It's been really impressive, Joe.
Yeah, it's excellent summation there. And, I think going back to that Gonzaga game, what got me to that one was the fact, and I'm not sure Chris Beard would necessarily agree with this, but I think Tech played Gonzaga's game and outplayed them.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is not a low-tempo game necessarily. This was a 75-69 game, which is kind of borderline high tempo. There was a lot of up and down in this game, a lot of flow, and you know, I mean, Tech handled things a little bit more in the second half, but this was still never what you call a grinded out slugfest sort of an affair. I mean, this was some high wire acts and a lot of up tempo and a lot of shooting from outside and a lot of fast break and a lot of stuff and a lot of back and forth and a lot of stuff that you just don't associate with Texas Tech, but you do associate with Gonzaga.
Right.
You know, and so when Texas Tech can play the #1 seed in the West, play them at their game,
toe-to-toe,
and then beat them. You know, I mean, that's just really, really extra impressive. So that's what got me with that one.
You know, what I'll remember initially, or I think probably the most, is in the first half there was a back and forth stretch where I think each team made like 3 shots, just boom, 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 boom. And I actually punched the guy next to me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I remember him putting his arm around me. I'm with you, big fella. It's okay. You know, like, this is crazy. You know, it wasn't because like Tech necessarily was doing so. It was because as a basketball fan, you were seeing such excellence, you know what I mean? And such a high stage or big stage, and the crowd was going crazy. There was so much electricity. I was geeking out for being able to witness, to be there, to see that what was unfolding in front of us. It was, you know, and I would have been geeking out just watching on TV too, to be honest. It was high-level basketball. It was really fun to watch. Speaking of high-level basketball, Michigan State, real quick, what jumps out to me, obviously, you know, elite point guard play from Cassius Winston, and then they have one of the top rebound margins in the entire country. That's, you know, I mean, that's going to be tough. But you're in the Final Four, so it's going to be tough. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, it's going to be, you know, it's. I don't think it's going to be anything like the Gonzaga game. Let's put it like that. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine this game being anything other than a just physical knockdown, drag out. You know, so you've got that. I mean, you got 2 teams that pride themselves on toughness. I mean, I think Izzo and Beard. You're looking for a comparison to Beard. I think Izzo is about as close as you can get.
You know, I've said that before. Remember that it reminds me that they're building kind of like a Michigan State. I've said that to you. Please back me up here that I said that. You're looking at me like, oh, no.
We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. And, you know, I mean, heck, I think Beard and Izzo are even kind of built the same. You know, facially they don't look alike, but I mean, from the neck down, they just kind of have the same stocky kind of a build and everything, same kind of demeanor on the sidelines, I think. So, and I think Beard would appreciate that comparison. I think he respects Tom Izzo quite a bit. So, similar types of programs. I mean, so you got 2 like teams that are going to be going after this. I don't see a whole lot of separation. I mean, now I've been reading actually just before we came on here some comments from Nate Oates, the Buffalo coach, where the paper up in Michigan was asking him, you know, what do you think about Texas Tech? What can you do to beat those guys? And he was extremely complimentary of Texas Tech, but he did say that it's going to help that Michigan has a full week to prep for Tech's defense, because he said, listen, you just don't see defenses like Tech's. What they do is kind of a weird and bizarre. You just don't run into it. So that's going to help Michigan State. Also, I mean, they have maybe the most savvy point guard in the country in Cassius Winston. That's a guy who is not going to get flustered too much by things. He knows what he's going to do. So, you know, maybe Texas Tech's defense is not going to be quite as utterly dominant in this game as it has been against some other teams. But the thing is, you know, I think Texas Tech is better offensively than people are giving them credit for. And I mean, it's particularly these last, you know, month and a half, Tech's offense has just been getting better and better and better, playing very well.
The bench has stepped up in the tournament.
It absolutely has. Morrow has got his stroke back, you know, so you got multiple shooters back, firing on all cylinders again. That's going to help, and I think Tech is going to be able to score against Michigan State. I really do. I mean, I think that Tech is actually going to have the advantage in terms of overall athleticism, in terms of quickness, in terms of outside shooting. And I think that's ultimately going to spell the difference. I think down the stretch, Texas Tech is just going to be able to get more buckets facing good defense than Michigan State will facing good defense.
That's great stuff, man. I can't wait for the game. We're going to be there. You know, everything's booked, credentials approved, all of that. we're going to Minneapolis. We're going to have tons of coverage from Minneapolis and, of course, from here before we take off. Man, can't wait. Texas Tech in the Final Four against Michigan State Saturday night. Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.